And now as his work gets completed on the cross, he is now within. He has made manifest all three of those relationships, and we can have that through our faith and trust in Messiah. Why? What does that have to do with this festival? Well, it has a lot to do with this festival. First of all, this festival is a celebration of God's desiring to tabernacle or dwell with his people. That is what Messiah Yeshua did. He is the ultimate fulfillment of that, the whole concept. And yet, there's still something even grander coming when he comes back. That's what our Brit Hadashah portion talks about today. And it talks about the fact that we'll be worshiping him with palm fronds. Don't you know that's how we celebrate Sukkot today? It says we're supposed to take the goodly fruit of a tree, palm branches, leafy willows, and there's another tree there that nobody really knows exactly what it is. But we're supposed to wave those during this season. I think that what that points to is the fact that Messiah may actually be coming back during this season at some point. Now, do not tell anybody, oh, Rabbi Neal has shown us scripturally in the Bible where Messiah is definitely coming back on Sukkot at some point. No, that's not what I'm saying. However, I will go back to when he came the first time, and I will tell you that I do believe, from a biblical perspective, this absolutely was the time he came, the first time he came. Okay? This is why I'm saying, remember the sukkah. Remember that it equates to the manger in those days. And think about this. Dr. Luke set out in his gospel to get those facts right. That's how he says it in the very beginning of the book. He says, I'm writing this to you in order to make sure that everything is written down so that we get all this stuff right. That's exactly what he wanted to do. And he starts off by telling us about a priest by the name of Zechariah. This is Luke chapter 1. Zechariah was a priest of the order of Abia. Abia. Now, why is that significant? Okay, fine. He's a priest of Abia. Who cares? Okay? It's important because it tells us the order in which he served in the temple. Okay? In 1 Chronicles chapter 24, verses 7 through 18 designate 24 priestly divisions. One of them happens to be Abia. So we know Zechariah from Luke chapter 1 is from the priestly order of Abia. We know, based on 1 Chronicles 24, when Abia would have been serving. You see, each division would serve for 1 week in order, except for 3 times a year. On Passover, on Shavuot, or Pentecost, and on Sukkot. On those feasts, festival days, all 24 orders would serve. Why? Well, did you read in Numbers chapter 29, all those offerings? That's a heck of an offering. Think about all the people making all those offerings for 7 days. That's an awful lot of offerings. It's a big, big offering per person, and add all those people together, you've got a lot of offerings taking place. So all 24 orders would serve each Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. Okay? It was sort of an all-hands-on-deck time. The first month was Nisan, and that was the month that Passover fell. 7 weeks later was Shavuot. So if Zechariah was of the division of Abia, which according to the lots would have been the 8th division, if you add in there Passover and Shavuot, he would have been serving in the 10th week of the year. Okay? If you're writing this down, I'll say it again slowly. Since Passover and Shavuot are within the first 8 weeks, And Aviyah is the 8th cycle in the priestly order. Add the 2 weeks for Passover and Shavuot, and Aviyah would have been serving in the 10th week of the year. Are you with me? Follow me so far? Okay. 10th week of the year, okay, that would have put his service on or about the 5th day of the month of Sivan. Okay? 5th of Sivan is when Aviyah would have been serving. Okay? Remember, they were serving for a week at a time. When his service was over, he went back home. Now, have any of you been in the military? Any of you been in the military? Okay. You go out to the field for a particular period of time, and if you're married, when you go out to the field, you come back, you rejoice with your spouse. That has a particular meaning in the Bible. Very shortly after Aviyah comes back from his service, his wife, whose name was Elisheva, or Elizabeth, finds out she's pregnant. Right? So here we are. Shortly after he comes back, his wife Elizabeth conceives. That puts the time of her son's birth in the spring, right about the time of Passover. Now this is fitting. This is absolutely fitting. Traditionally, we look for Elijah the prophet to come when? Passover. Passover. Remember that whole empty plate we set at the Seder table? We have one of the children go open the door. Eliyahu! Because they were looking for Elijah to come at Passover. Well, guess what, folks? He came at Passover. When Yochanan HaMavdil, John the Immerser, the Baptist, is born on Passover. So it happened. It just didn't look like we thought it was going to look, which is totally how God works. He does things all the time, and it just doesn't look like we think it's going to look. So Yochanan, John, is the one who comes in the spirit and power of Elijah, as it says in Luke chapter 1, verse 17, and he came at Passover. Then, in Luke chapter 36, it tells us that this is the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy that Miriam conceived. Okay? In the 6th month of Elisheva's pregnancy, Miriam conceived. Okay, let's put that in Catholic. When Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, Mary conceived. Okay? That's how we normally hear it. So that's verse 36. That would put the time of conception late in the month of Kislev, on or about the 25th. Okay? When did Elizabeth conceive? 6 months later is when Mary conceives, on or about the 25th day of the month of Kislev. Now, does anybody recognize the date? 25 Kislev. You guys are shaking your head. It's what? It's not December 25th. It is exactly Hanukkah time. The feast of the 25th day of the month of Kislev is the first day of the feast of dedication. The festival of lights. Y'all, there is no such thing as coincidence. Okay? Messiah was conceived on the first day of the Feast of Lights, the Feast of Dedication, the 25th day of the month of Kislev. I have to believe that God fully intended for the light of the world to be conceived on the Feast of Lights. And it's no coincidence that the Feast of Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, is really a celebration of the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day, God made that decision. He dedicated Messiah to dwell with his people. Also, not a coincidence. 2 Maccabees says that after the miracle of their victory, the first thing they did was celebrate tabernacles. So this is a shadow of Sukkot and the probable time of Messiah's conception. Now, anyone in the medical field? Okay, what is normal human gestation time? How many? 40? 40? Technically, it's between 40 and 41. It's 40.5. Okay? So, you're close, and when we think, we don't usually consider the half weeks. So yeah, when we say 40, that's about right. Technically speaking, 40.5 weeks. Okay? That's significant. Hold on to that. If you count, get ready to get your minds blown. Count 40.5 weeks from the 25th day of Kislev, and you get something fairly spectacular. 40.5 weeks from the 25th day of the month of Kislev, and you come up with, on the Hebrew calendar, the 15th day of the month of Tishrei. The first